Hey y'all, John here. Today we're going to talk about my transition away from the Apple ecosystem and into the FOSS ecosystem where everything is free and open source. I started this journey on the iPhone. So basically I had a lot of storage problems. I had an iPhone 14 Pro, 512 gig. Was having a lot of issues with its battery not lasting all day. I had to charge it by midday, and of course storage was always filling up with system data. That was the main thing, and of course I was buying an iPhone every year. So my journey with Apple actually started way back, I would say maybe 2015. So I bought a mid 2014 MacBook Pro using my summer funds because I was working as an intern in IT at that time. Bought a MacBook Pro. I was still on, I think, a 2014 Model X, but I quickly realized that I couldn't use an Android phone with a Mac. So of course I was out of high school, so I found that there were a couple kids that destroyed their iPhones, cracked screens. They didn't want to pay Apple to fix them. So I said, okay, I'll buy your cracked iPhone for $50. Of course, they wanted the money, so they gave it to me. They thought it was basically useless, but I knew that if I get them to remove their iCloud on the phones, I could then take the logic board and put it into a fresh case, put a new screen on it, and use it myself, because I didn't have the money to buy a 6S at the time. So I did that, bought a destroyed iPhone 6S, bought a couple other dead 6s, and then bought a new case, battery, and what else? The display. Basically Frankenstein those together. So I had a gold 16 gigabyte 6S that was locked to the T-Mobile network, but I was already on T-Mobile, so who cares? Put that together, and I was like, wow, coming from the Model X, this phone is always at 60 FPS. It's so smooth, it's so nice. And I'm finally a blue bubble. This is so cool. I'm part of the social club. Of course, every teenager's dream. From there, of course, I use them together. That continuity stuff was really cool. I could send a message on my phone and it pops up on my Mac. I could AirDrop stuff in between. iCloud networks between both devices. Cool. Next thing I know, I run out of 16 gigs of storage. Doesn't take long. 16 gigs is nothing even back then. So from there, I got a iPhone 7 Plus. Got that, used that for a little bit, and of course, there was a point where I was working at the Apple Store and they were doing promotion. Basically, people that either start out or are there for a couple of years, you can get heavy discounts on products. So I said, I'll just get the 10R at the time. So it was free and no sales tax, nothing, because it discounted, right? So I got that, used it for a while, and then I was like, you know what, this one's getting kind of old. And then I bought a 12 mini because I wanted to switch carriers. So I got the 12 mini. That didn't last long because battery was pretty small and that's what I was dying. So I returned that. Then I got a 13 Pro Max. Yeah, 13 Pro Max. Used that for a while. It was nice because it went from basically a 12 mini to a 13 Pro Max. Much bigger phone. I liked that really cold blue color. Always looked really nice. Of course I couldn't use it without a case, so I had a case on it all the time. But of course, the battery kept dying. I'm not someone that plays games on my phone. I am someone that tries to do productivity tasks. So I use my phone for text messages, phone calls, photography leads, or responding to emails, stuff like that. I don't use high brightness or anything. I'm not a heavy user, funny enough. So I was pissed. I was like, you know what, I need to get a new phone. So I got a 14 Pro. Phone was smaller, I had the purple color, it was nice, but no major difference in battery. So I kept using that, but then I had a trip to Europe coming up. I think that is about 4 or 5 months ago now. And I said, you know what, I'm not gonna take a phone overseas that dies by midday. If I'm in a bind, I want my phone to basically have good battery life from the start of my day to the end. It should be able to last that long. So I said, you know what, I don't care about blue bubbles anymore. I don't care about this Apple ecosystem, because at that time I had the 14 Pro, I had the M1 MacBook Pro, a 12.9 inch M1 iPad Pro, 3 HomePod minis, and one the OG HomePod, all for HomeKit, and I had the Apple TV 4K. So deep in the ecosystem, plus iCloud storage and all that stuff. So I bought the S23 Ultra, not knowing what to expect, and that phone was great. First 2 weeks I got it, phone lasted 2 days. I just wouldn't have the charger. I go to bed, phone not even on the charger, and I just wake up like, oh okay, 50%, 60%. I can go the next day. Go 2 days. Over time, that phone started to have less and less battery. I didn't play games on it or anything. I just installed all my productivity apps, so your basic Gmail, Sony apps, marketing, stuff like that. Nothing crazy that drains battery, but for some reason that phone just didn't last all day, especially when I went to France. I was using my phone heavily for navigation. Phone died like after the day and I had to buy a portable charger. That wasn't the most fun. It wasn't the most fun experience. So I was also doing some research on the open source stuff, and I realized that, hey, I can't root this phone and install custom ROMs, because before I switched to the iPhone, one of my biggest things that I liked is even on the Moto X, I basically install custom ROM on there. On the Galaxy Note 3, you can install custom ROMs. You can get rid of TouchWiz and switch it to CyanogenMod or something like that. Can't do that on the S23 Ultra because of Knox, and of course there's no development. I guess the root community is going away. On Graphene, it's all about privacy. Basically strips all the G apps and all that stuff. I like privacy, it's cool. I just want to be able to have flexibility. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna move from the S23 Ultra to the Pixel 7 because the battery life wasn't the way it was when I first got it. And I checked through battery usage, went through all that stuff. It just wasn't a 2-day phone, it was a 1-day phone. And I felt like it was over bloated. The only time that S Pen was useful to me, honestly, was when I was at a wedding, checking off my photo checklist. And that was cool. The client saw me writing on my phone. That's the only time I really liked it. So went from there to the Pixel 7 Pro, which I am on now. I'll probably do a mini review with a comparison to the S23 Ultra, based on what I remember on the 23 compared to my Pixel. Of course, everybody says the Pixel is great for call screening and all the Pixel features. Main downside is the battery it's a 1-day phone. You might be able to make it go 2 days depending on your usage. But of course, the MacBook was my most treasured device in Apple land. So my MacBook, I used it, and I don't have it anymore. I used it for Capture One and Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro was kind of hard to let go. So I told myself, you know what? You have to switch to DaVinci Resolve or Premiere. So I said, you know what? I don't like the subscription model on Premiere, so I'm gonna do DaVinci Resolve. It's been okay. I haven't had any heavy projects since then, so I can't say too much about it, but it's been okay from the time I've experimented with it. Capture One has actually been faster because I built a PC to replace the MacBook I used to have, and also bought an XPS 13 Plus. XPS is a whole other story. Build quality issues all over the place. Took me 3 purchases of the XPS to get the right one that didn't have either a trackpad issue or random throttling to the point where it freezes up the whole laptop and you lose all your data since you have to shut it down just to get it responsive again. But so far, I basically have transitioned everything out. I don't have any Apple products other than AirPod Pros, AirPod Tag, what are they called? AirTag is also gone. So give it all out to friends. Don't need anything related to Apple because can't use it anyways. You know what Apple is. If you don't have an Apple product, there was even a point where I got locked out of my Apple ID account because I didn't have an Apple device to log into it with. Yes, you can use the iCloud portal, but if the 2 factors is set up correctly, then it'll lock you out and you're waiting for a day or 2 weeks. The transition period for my cloud data wasn't too bad. What I did was I backed up my entire iPhone using iMazing, and then stored it on my server, just so if I need to go back and reference any old photos I used to have or messages, I just have that all archived. Then I use the Apple Move tool that's online. Apple basically just creates a zip file of all your data. So your iCloud photos, your iCloud Drive. No, I don't think it includes messages. Your iCloud notes, stuff like that. Archives it all in zip and downloads it. So I did that. Dumped it all onto OneDrive because I was paying for that for a little bit, and then I realized I just wanted to host everything locally. So right now, I just save everything on an SMB share and use sync things between my Pixel, my server, my computer, and my desktop. It works perfect. I'll get into that for photographers. For photographers, I think you guys need servers because I know a lot of you guys just use these big external hard drives. I know some of them are expensive brands that have padding and stuff. No one cares about that. What you need is redundancy. The last thing you want is to lose wedding photos for a client. So I'll do a review on that and how I set it up with TrueNAS scale. I can say that so far I've been happier. I'm basically running again. I went from being an all Apple sheep or whatever to now I'm running Android, Fedora, and Windows only used for Capture One. and DaVinci Resolve. Windows is, when I first started the transition, I was on Windows, but I was like, you know what? I want to try something different, so I'm full-time on Fedora. Windows is only for gaming, DaVinci Resolve, and Capture One. Those 3 things. Other than that, no use for it. So it works out for me. Let me know if you guys have any questions or feedback about it, about my transition. I know it took me years to get out of that Apple world. It was so nice that everything just works together, but I find an interest in setting up my own system and knowing how it works. And it teaches me a lot more than just being forced to buy stuff every year. You know, at least if I know how everything works, I can choose when I want to buy stuff, not Apple sends out an update, even though this did happen in the past. You guys know with the lawsuits and stuff, but you know how with Apple, there's always this this open secret that if you get the new iOS update a year after your iPhone comes out, you're gonna have all of a sudden gonna have battery issues, your phone's gonna feel slower, you're gonna have random glitches, just so you can buy that latest iPhone. It shouldn't be like that. All businesses are here to make money, so it is what it is. But now I'm on the other side, and it's a lot happier here, so I can say that. Stay tuned for my next video on the Pixel 7 review, TrueNAS scale. I'm going to be reviewing these, the XPS 13 Plus, even though it's fairly late, and we'll go from there. Thanks for listening.